every company is going to have some list of exclusions or filters for records that they want to either exclude from their main routing graph, or they want to just treat it a little bit differently. This could be a list of junk criteria, or it could be a list of countries that you don't do business in, or it could be a list of businesses as competitors. Many times these criteria are maintained in long lists, and some may choose to put these lists into true, false, or branch nodes and have them filtered out that way within your graph. While there's nothing wrong with doing this, it becomes a little bit difficult to manage once that list gets to a certain length. It becomes hard to find out exactly where in the list something is at. And if you need to frequently make changes and updates to that list, then you need to search through and find and edit and update in the right places, which can get a little bit unwieldy to manage on longer lists. One way to more easily manage this is, let's say you've got a long list of excluded company names. They're probably contained in a CSV or a spreadsheet of some sort already. Now, what we can do is leverage LeanData's data table routing functionality to be able to make this process much more easy to manage, particularly when making updates. So here, I've got a graph with the true-false node that has those excluded company names, and then they're getting sent to this do not call queue. So I have a list in CSV form of excluded companies that are on that list, and this is just something that my sales team will just send over to me when they have updates to it. So this is what we're going to do. We can import this excluded company list into LeanData as a data table, but it would be helpful if we had an owner for these. In our case, that owner is going to be the do not call queue. So I'm actually going to open this, and I'm going to copy the ID for that do not call queue. So I will go over here and I will copy this ID, and that's going to be my quote unquote owner for these records. Okay, going back to my spreadsheet here, I'm going to put a column for owner. I just need the ID, so I will format that properly. And then I can just easily copy this all the way down my list. So now I've got that do not call queue as the intended owner for any lead that comes in from one of these companies. Now I'll go ahead and save this. And then jumping back over to LeanData, let's go over to the LeanData dashboard. I'm going to the data table management section, which we can find under routing, and then data table management. Here, I'm going to create a data table. I'm going to name this excluded companies list. And I'll just take that and use it as the version name and put the number 1 at the end of it. Business unit will be a single graph. And then I'll continue to step 2. Here I'm going to choose to upload a data table. And I'm going to do that with a CSV that I just showed you. So I'll hit browse and find that excluded company list. And now we can continue to step 3. Now the two columns are represented here, and we need to designate if these are inputs or outputs. The excluded company column is going to be an input, and that's just going to be text. And then the owner column is going to be an output, and this is going to be an owner. So we'll go ahead and save this, wait for this to be created. And once it's created, we'll hit done. And now you can see this data table properly formatted within LeanData. Let's go ahead and close this now. And let's go to our excluded companies data table. It's inactive currently. So we want to activate that by going to Actions, View Versions. And then here on the version list, there's only one version. Let's go ahead and go to Actions once more and then click Activate. Okay, so now we have an active data table. So now we need to modify our graph. So jumping back to our graph here, instead of managing this with a true-false node, I'm going to delete this and also this assign record node because that'll be contained within the data table itself. So I will go ahead and delete these nodes. Then we're going to go to our node bar menu, go to my action nodes, and then look for data table and pull that in. I will send my new leads into this data table. Let's open this to configure it. Firstly, let's name this check for excluded companies. Okay. And I'll simply select the data table that we just uploaded. There we go. Excluded companies list. I need to map my fields. So for the list of excluded companies, I'm going to look in the company name field. So that's going to be on the routed lead, and then company field. Okay. And then for the owner, it's just simply going to be the owner field on the routed lead record. There we go. And we always want to overwrite. Okay, last thing, I need to go to advanced settings. And for records that do not belong to this excluded list, I want them to proceed to the rest of my normal routing flow. So I will go ahead and connect that to the next node. Okay, and we are done. So just to recap, when new leads come in, we'll first enter and check for one of those excluded company names. And if it is on the list, it'll be assigned to the do not call queue. If it is not on that list, we will proceed to the rest of the graph. Now, the beauty of this, it's very easy to make changes. We don't even need to modify our graph. We simply need to go to the data table management section of LeanData. Then we need to find our excluded companies list data table. And then one of the actions here is to replace it. And we simply need to upload the latest version of that CSV. So that will be referenced in our routing graph from that point forward. So it's very easy to make those changes and updates if you have a CSV that contains the latest version of that list. Well, I hope that helps.